Hello and welcome back to the channel Your Stars Align. This is Carmina, astrologer with Vedic principles and reader with the cards of truth. So if you've been following my channel for the past weeks, maybe you've noticed that lately I've been putting out more technical videos. So chart analysis using different techniques that maybe are not understood by those of you who are more on a beginner level. Those techniques are more intermediate advanced. So a lot of you have been writing to me, have been commenting, saying that they are a bit confused, and rightfully so. So I thought that today I would balance that situation out by making a video about something that is essential, something that is pretty simple, but it's really important, and that is the moon. If you've been with my channel for a while, I think about 5-6 months ago, I made a video on Venus, on all the qualities of Venus, and another one on remedial measures for that planet. And I was saying back then that I would start a series on the grahas and exploring them, and somehow that got a bit lost because I've been doing other videos on the cards of truth and other more practical videos, but I really think I should continue that series on the planets because it allows you to better understand the energies active within and outside yourself. So today is a day of a new moon. It's June 13. And this new moon happens to be in Gemini. For myself, it will be in the 8th house within 2 degrees of my North Node. So it's a good opportunity to dive a bit deep in this occult knowledge that is astrology. Okay, so there are so many things to say about the moon, and Brihad Parashara Ora Shastra considers the moon to be one of the sovereign planets. The sun and the moon are the sovereign pair of planets, while the sun is the king, the moon represents the queen, and oftentimes you will see these planets paired together. Even in the horoscope, you will notice that each of the other planets of the embodied planets rules one feminine and one masculine sign. For instance, Mars rules Scorpio, a feminine sign, and Aries, a masculine sign. So the sun and the moon, the two luminaries, only rule one sign each. For the moon, it's of course Cancer, which is the utmost expression of the feminine energy, a watery, flowy, and Brahmin energy. And for the sun, it's Leo, which is the utmost expression of the masculine energy. It's a fiery sign related to inspiration. And for the moon, it's interesting that the sign it rules, Cancer, is related to the breast area where the heart is placed, so where emotions are. And also the moon rules, in medical astrology, it rules the circulatory system and the urinary system. So the systems that regulate the flow of liquids in our body. So very important, I would say. Also in the plant kingdom, the moon rules sap, which is the juice of the plants, and that is very telling because one of the names for the moon in the Vedas is Soma, which means juice. So yes, as I was saying, the moon is paired up with the sun as the two luminaries. They together co-rule the highest chakra. If you know Jaimini astrology in the 24th Vargai, which is the divisional chart related to finding meaning, they co-rule all the planets that are in the signs of Cancer and Leo are favorable in that chart, even though they may not be well dignified. So these two signs, the Leo and Cancer, that correspond to the Sun and the Moon, are very important for meaning because they're associated, as I was saying, to the highest chakra. Okay, so what else can we say about the Moon? So today we are going to be experiencing a new moon, and that means the moon is waning. The moon has two phases, waxing and waning. The waxing phase relates to growth, while the waning phase relates to decay. So this is the dual nature of the moon. The growth phase, it's like the plants taking water from the earth to grow, and then animals and insects eating those plants and growing as well. And the decay part is water is the universal solvent. It also helps decay everything. Like, for instance, if something is dead, it decays quicker if it contains water. Okay, so this is the dual aspect of the moon. Even practically in the chart, if your moon is within 180 degrees from your sun, it's considered waxing. If it's beyond 180 degrees to 360, it's considered waning. And the waning moon is considered to be a malefic, but the least cruel of all the malefics. The waxing moon is considered to have a beneficial influence because it helps grow those things pertaining to the house where it's placed, while the waning moon relates more to giving up things, and it's more focused on internal growth. And it's very interesting that one of the presiding deities of the moon, which is called Ambu in Vedic astrology, is actually the force of the water, the creative and destructive force of the water. And that's why the creative force, as I was saying, helps things grow, and the destructive force, for instance, can cause floods, like even of biblical proportions. And it helps also, shed away some unnecessary things. That is the cruel aspect of the moon. And also in Vedic astrology, the moon has another presiding deity, which is Varuna. Varuna has had a different trajectory in the Vedas. He's seen as the force that created the universe, but afterwards, his importance may be diminished. Other deities, other forces came more into the limelight, and Varuna was just seen as ruling waters and oceans. So Ambu, I think, and Varuna are very similar, but the expression of Ambu is more on the earthly plane, focused on earth, while Varuna is like a universal force. So it's higher than just the earth plane. Another thing that is very interesting about the moon is that I think it's called Vidu in Sanskrit. One of the names of the moon is Vidu, and that means lonely. That seems a bit paradoxical, since the moon is said to have 27 wives, which are the nakshatras. But even in mythology, even if the moon had these 27 wives, it was always traveling, always moving, not really finding peace, because also Brihat Parasharavara Shastra says that the moon is lovesick. So being lovesick means that it's always looking for something, and that something is, divine union. So back to the moon being having 27 wives as nakshatras, that didn't satisfy the moon, so he even had an affair with Jupiter's wife. So that can show that, you know, practically people who have an afflicted moon are more prone to affairs. But in general, the moon is nourishment, and it also relates greatly to your early environment, because that early environment impression will determine what you feel comfortable with, the situation you feel good in, even when you're mature. So people with a debilitated moon are said to be bereft of breast milk. That means that they didn't have the necessary maternal nourishment and affection for them to grow, to develop the comfortable attitude. And then what else can I say? Yes, the moon also relates to social affairs. As I was saying, the moon is the queen, it's one of the sovereign planets, so it has to do with handling human interactions. So people with an afflicted moon have a harder time interacting with other people, relating to them, and being more sensitive to them. Of course, these things that I'm saying are general things, and there are other factors that can help overcome that. For instance, if the moon is delighted by friends, or if it's highlighted, if it's on an angle, many other things. If Mercury is in a good shape, because Mercury is the sun of the moon, so to some extent it can help counteract that. So the moon is actually, like basically said, is the mind, is the individual consciousness, because its pair, the sun, is the Atman, which is the soul. So yeah, the moon, that's why it is said that it's good for the moon not to be with other planets in the chart. It's also preferable even not to be with Jupiter, because the moon is the mind, so it's better left alone. Left alone in the Rashi, preferably in the 4th or the 5th, where it has maximum Digbala operating strength, but also it's good to have the moon anchored, so to have other planets except Sun, Rahu and Ketu in the 2nd or 12th from it. Also, the moon relates to abundance, it relates to wealth, because there are so many combinations that can give wealth associated with the moon. A simple yoga that comes to mind is Chandra, which relates the moon to the 10th. And yeah, there are, also the moon with Jupiter together is a combination for wealth. The moon with Mars is a combination for wealth. From different means, of course, because Mars is a malefic, so it would be a more rudimentary, a more earthly wealth from more crude professions than moon with Jupiter. Also, the moon practically relates to social sciences, it relates to visual arts, it relates to poetry. So the moon, like Venus, is also a poet. It relates to music, it's the key planet in a musician's chart. The moon is a planet that has no enemies. That's very interesting, and can only be starved by Saturn by conjunction. Okay, what else can we say about the moon? So many things. The moon is described as having pale skin. So actually there are two grahas, moon and Jupiter, that are described as having pale skin. And sometimes they are translated, these colors, as white for the moon and yellow for Jupiter, but it can just be light or pale. Let's see. The moon is exalted in Taurus and debilitated in Scorpio. And the Taurus is the sign that is the most stable sign. So material comfort, like earthly comfort, sensual pleasures. um, Taurus is the part of the face from here that includes, the face and the neck. So it also relates to speaking. So, an unafflicted moon has no problem expressing their first feeling by speaking, by using, the throat and the mouth, which are in Taurus. While a debilitated moon, which is in Scorpio, and Scorpio relates to the private parts, I guess has more trouble bringing, that first feeling up from the heart, from the Cancer, up to the mouth to verbalize it. So that is one of the things that people with an afflicted moon, debilitated or afflicted moon, need to do, or with the sign of Cancer, or with the fourth house with malefics. They need to speak their first truth, and not the second, not the third, and follow their intuition. The moon is seen as having long hair because the hair is the home of memories. And the moon is connected to the past things, as opposed to the sun. If you know the sutras in Brihat Parashara or Shastra, the sun has little hair because it's not concerned with hanging on to the past and just focus on their path, while the moon is adaptable. It's of round shape, it's more flexible, it's more moody. The moon is also the most important planet for Kuta, which is Vedic compatibility. So why that is? I think it's because in order to be with somebody compatible, you have to have, of course, compatible moon, because the moon is the planet that changes signs the fastest. So it's like the biorhythm, the everyday moods of the person need to be compatible. Also, in Vedic astrology, the moon is highlighted more than the sun for daily existence, because India in itself is a lunar culture. It's a more receptive, a feminine culture, as opposed to Western civilization, who went on conquering and were more solar. Another interesting thing to mention about the moon is that the main avatar, Krishna, means dark, and the most famous avatar from the sun is Rama. And it's interesting that both of these are called dark. Rama also means black. So why would the sun and the moon, the two luminaries that shine light on the consciousness, would be depicted with these names? Because it refers to the darkness of space, and also it refers to the darkness of Ketu, the south node, the darkness of going within. In space, what is the dark? The black holes are very dark, and the black holes in astronomy are said to suck things in eventually. Everything around the black hole will be sucked in. So that is the Ketu quality of going inwards. The Ketu doesn't have a head because it's severed. Rahu is the head and Ketu is the body. So the Ketu doesn't have an ego because the ego resides in the head. So it's very interesting, this connection with the nodes, with these two luminaries and the nodes. So it relates to just going inwards, even with Rahu and Ketu. We are here on the material plane to fulfill what Rahu wants us to fulfill, but after we fulfill that, we still go inwards, we go to Ketu. So we are based on Ketu. We come here with a lot of skills and a lot of investment in a certain area. Then we develop our Rahu just so that we go back into Ketu. It's like the dragon swallowing its tail. No wonder the nodes have been called the dragon head and the dragon tail. And I wanted to tell you another interesting thing about the relationship between these luminaries, the sun and moon, and the nodes. The nodes are the enemies of the sun and moon most, because when the nectar of immortality was being imparted, this demon, actually it was not a demon, more like a titan, called Shvarbanu, was disguised himself as a deva, as a deity, and went between the sun and the moon to taste this nectar of immortality, which he did. But the sun and the moon realized it was, devil in disguise, and they told Vishnu, and Vishnu severed this intelligent titan in half, and its head is Rahu and its body is Ketu. So that's why there is always this tension, this enmity between the nodes and the luminaries. And the sun, the Rahu, the north node, is especially said to prefer swallowing the moon, while the south node, Ketu, is said to especially like to swallow the sun. That's why because the moon is the quintessential feminine energy in a moon chart, in a woman's chart. It's very difficult to have a moon Rahu conjunction, and for a man it's very difficult to have a sun Rahu conjunction, especially. Okay, I think that is enough for today. I hope I got you interested in thinking about the moon maybe in different perspectives than you have been thinking so far, and let me know in the comments if you have other things to add about the qualities and the meanings of the moon. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up because it really helps the channel out, and check out my website yourstarasalign.com if you're in need of some counseling. Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.